Everyone,
Magandang araw, kaibigan.
Magandang hapon sa inyong tanan.
And we are the Advanced Thinkers. The first dimension of communication is deals with the sensory organ hearing. And through hearing, we are able to communicate our verbal and paraverbal cues. The verbal cues deals with the words that came out into our mouth that able to communicate others. While the paraverbal cues are the formality of how we pronounce the word, how we deliver the sentences, how is our speed, the volume, and the emphasis of words. And now for the second dimension of communication, which deals with our sensory organs of hearing and sight. Example of this scenario is video conferences. As you can see or imagine, video conferences uses in the use of sensory organ of sight so that we can able to understand the communicator through his actions, facial reactions, and body projections. And now let's move on to the third dimension of communication, which is or deals with the sensory organs still in hearing and sight. But the only catch is now in this dimension And now let's move on to the third dimension of communication. The third dimension of communication deals with the sensory organs of hearing and sight. But the only catch, there is an additional. There is the one presenting or uses instrument in order for us to communicate. Another example for this dimension is presentations and reporting. And through reporting, and also focusing of what the intel showing to us by the reporter, or rather the people that is speaking in front, we are able to communicate and to understand what he or she is talking, and we create our own ideas, and we can collaborate. For the last dimension of communication, which is the fourth one, these are audio-visual conferences with added collaboration with them. We can hear, see, edit, and interact with the presenter, and we can collaborate with them on a document, presentation, or notes. Both can exchange between the individuals and the formation. So in communication, it deals with many things. Just like in a ball game, like in a basketball, all the members of the team has its own role. So in communication process, first it deals with the sender. The sender has the message, possess the message, the idea that he or she wants to transfer to another person. So once he produced the idea, he encode her message in her mind. Then the channel of communication goes on and on until it received by the receiver. And by the receiver will decode the message. And after he or she decode the message, and now she or he will give the feedback.
there are 7 major elements in process and communication, and that is the sender, the ideas, the encoding, the communication channel, and the receiver, the decoding, and the feedback. What is nonverbal communication? It is defined as communication without words. It includes apparent behavior such as facial expressions, eyes, touching, and tones of voice. What is verbal communication? It is the sharing of information between individuals by using speech. It is a type of oral communication wherein the message is transmitted through the spoken words.
Primary functions of the non-verbal body behavior of human communication to impress emotions and to express international attitude. It helps to manage speakers many conversations, to present one personality, to perform such a great things to everyone.
We are capable of communicating to each other. Male or female are free will to communicate because that is serves as unity, and that is why we have civilization and innovation and many more. But men and female are different. To understand that in their communication styles, generalized, female are more indirect in terms of expressing ideas and more emotional, and yet emphasize to something. But in male, it is more direct, succinct, and instrumental. And this allows us to understand that their advantage. Female had the advantages to preserve connection and emphasis to a certain topic because women are more emotional, and allows more people to get attention with, and more collaborative in terms of in teaching and giving ideas. And second, for men, is more direct. So it's very self-explanatory that the men are more fearsome than women. So for the last topic we're gonna talk about is the culture and how it influenced the dimensions of communication. So first, we will consider the facts of how culture will influence communication. Let's try to reconsider the verbal or non-verbal dimension, the oral or written dimensions, formal or informal dimensions, and lastly, the intentional or intentional dimensions. So let's start off to the verbal or non-verbal dimensions. The courtesy of a person who lives in a culture depends on his culture. Their way of communicating, verbal or non-verbal, is affected because of what they believe appropriate in their society. Just like in the Japanese tradition, they usually bow once wants to show respect. And for instance, for us Filipinos, we usually get the hands of the elders and bless. And for the next is oral or written dimensions. Misunderstanding occurs when oral or written messages are not in agreement. Culture of different people may make them used to show how to deliver messages, which can become a hindrance to become open-minded to others' messages. So cultures have different languages and how they interpret some messages. So different nationalities with different cultures may find it difficult to understand the written messages, or some cases there may be misunderstanding. Next up is the formal or informal dimensions. Type of society of a person who lives in a culture, in a tradition, reflects how they deliver messages formally or not. What person is used to hearing or saying in their society influence how they will act and respond to a message. So it's very self-explanatory because the culture or tradition allows a person to be guided on how he or she will interact, or how he deliver the message, or how he reflect to other people. That's all. Thank you. So that is the end of our report on how we interpret the questions that Madam gave. So I hope you enjoy and God bless. We are the advanced thinkers, by the way.